everybody, welcome to Garden Time with Belle. Well, today's video is going to be a little bit weird and out of sequence because I actually already filmed today's video earlier today in my greenhouse on this cold, blustery mid-November day here in my mid-Missouri garden. And when I came into my home office here where I do my editing of videos that I will then upload to YouTube, I discovered 3 of the segments of what I had already filmed down in the greenhouse would not upload onto my software. I don't know what happened, but anyhow, so I can't get those to load. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to quick capture what I was sharing with you in those videos so that today, the rest of the segments you're going to watch make sense. So today is all about what to do on a cold, rainy, blustery fall day. And for me, I wanted to bring you along with me as I took some of the hydrangeas that I dried earlier this summer, or earlier this fall, I guess, and some of the gomphrena that I had dried and create a few little arrangements out of those. So that's what today's video is going to be about. And then I want you to make sure you hang on and stay tuned because the last third of the video is where I'm going to share with you my 4 most important recommendations for how you can make sure, if you have a greenhouse, how you can make sure that you can keep your plants and herbs and things alive all winter long. For those of you who, like me, garden in, this is a zone 6, and we get cold, snowy winters. But because I have this amazing greenhouse in my life, I actually have to do things to protect the plants that are inside because I like to keep things growing all year round. So that's what today's video is about. Thank you guys for being patient with me. So I think the next segment you're going to see after this one will be me taking those dried hydrangeas and turning them into a fall display. And so that should be up next. So thanks for your patience, everybody, today, and I hope you enjoy the video. All right, so let's do something with these dried little lime punch hydrangeas. Full disclosure, you all, I am not a crafty person. I've never considered myself crafty, but you know what? I love to garden and I love beautiful things and I do okay at floral arrangements. But really, this is the first year I've ever intentionally dried hydrangea. And I see people doing it all the time with great success. I'm thinking, well, can't be that hard, can it? So the drying process isn't hard. And as I mentioned earlier, I've done a video on that. So you want to check that video out. But you know, how to make them look pretty, I'm not so sure. So let me show you what I've come up with. So you might have noticed, those of you that follow my videos, you might have noticed around my greenhouse, I have a lot of antique copper and brass containers. So here I've got this little antique copper container. It's wooden on the inside. And then I wanted to have a way to stick the stems of the hydrangeas in here so they wouldn't flop all around. So I just told my husband what I wanted to do, and I could have very easily done this myself, but why do it when he said, oh, let me make you something that you can slip in there. So he made me this. Now, those of you that do any kind of floral arranging, we call these like little chicken wire mesh things. We'll ball those up and stick them down in a vase to hold the stems so things don't flop. They're referred to like as a frog. But anyhow, so this is his version for this container. And being a carpenter and a home remodeler in his past life, it's pretty darn precise. So I think what I want to do is I just want to take some of these and I just want to fill this up to where it's just a mound of hydrangeas. And so what I think, again, I'm going to try to do is I want to cut them down to where I can just simply stick them where they'll stand up, but they're not, whoops, but they won't be too tall. I might let the corner ones spill over a little bit. So let me try that. Let's see how that works. Get my drink out of the way. You know, like I said, it's a blustery cold fall day. And I really should have a warm drink. I'll come down here a lot with a hot coffee or hot tea or cocoa. on a cold wintry day. But I've had all the coffee I can handle so far today. So I am drinking, I think, something ice water in that instead of something warm, which probably wasn't the best planning on my part. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna get after this and start filling this up, and we'll see what happens. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna have fun with it. My main objective here is to fill them to the point where you can't see any of the wire mesh. And I think I have enough here to achieve that goal. So let's see here. The other thing I'm learning, as I said, this is my first time drying hydrangeas. I think I'm learning and I'll get better at picking them at certain ripeness, as they say, because these are mostly green with a little hint of that pink that they get in the fall. But I have seen a lot of you out there cut them when they're really green or when they're even still creamy and let them dry. So I think it depends on what you like. And again, this was just my first time doing it. So, I'm learning for sure. And they are fragile, but they're not horrible. It's not like they are absolutely, falling apart when I put them in here. So that's good. That's a good thing for sure, for sure. Okay, grab some more down here. Gotta stand up here, look at it from above. I think I've got room for maybe one more. Okay, so what do you think? Not bad, huh? Not sure where I'm going to put it, but I'll find the right spot. The next little craft project with dried flowers are me putting these dried gomphrena up here in the greenhouse. So anyhow, if you can see, this is gomphrena. This is carmine, a hot pink variety that I grow for cut flowers, and gomphrena dries beautifully. What is so fascinating to me, I discovered this year, is that while the buds or the flowers are true to color, they dry beautifully, so they don't fade. What did fade were the stems, but only on the bundle I had here in the greenhouse. The stems faded out to sort of that straw color. Do you see that? And the ones I took into my home office, actually, you see that, how that's more green? So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. So the ones that I dried in my home office, of course, aren't getting all this radiant sun like the greenhouse provided. So anyways, so yeah, so what I'm going to do is what I did originally, and that is just make a little bundle. And I use rubber bands because they have flexibility. So they flex. So you can get them pretty tight, because as your stems dry, of course, they lose volume. And so they will flex a little bit. So I think that's going to be fine for that one. I'll do the same thing with the other one. And I also am learning, and that these petals, once they get dry, they're sort of fragile. So do you see all the little petals there that have come off when I've been handling them? So I guess what I've learned is if you're going to dry gomphrena, you probably want to cut it, hang it upside down just like this, and hang it from where it's going to stay permanently. And rather than, I had some in my house, I had some in here, and then I'm trying to combine them now to rehang them. So, you learn something as a gardener every year when you try new things. And that's what I need to remember for next year is when I get ready to hang them upside down to dry, I need to hang them in the spot that they'll be undisturbed and where they're going to be their home, I guess you could say, something like that. All right. So, they're close to the same size. So then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some ribbon. Let me get rid of the mess in my little plastic tub. Again, all these parts will go in my compost bin. Okay, here we go. So I've got some of this green ribbon. So I think all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the green ribbon and I'm going to thread it under the rubber band and hang it from up high. And I'm looking above here, and I'll turn the camera around so you can see where I'm looking. I think that will be plenty. So plenty of ribbon that is. Oops, that doesn't want to work. Let me use my scissors. Okay, so we'll do the same on this other little bundle. Again, I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm just going to thread it under one piece of the rubber band. And I'll try to make them about the same length of ribbon. Oh, well, let's see. It is going to be what it's going to be because, there we go. I want them all to be basically the same length. All right, very good. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera around and aim it up towards the top here and see where I can hang these two bundles of gomphrena. So now you all can finally see what I was looking at now that I've changed the camera angle. So yeah, so here they are. I think I'm just gonna try to put them up here, and I'm using my gardening seat / bench as my step stool. So, I don't want to go back up and get a proper step stool. So don't do this at home, everybody. But I'll be extra careful today, hopefully. All right. So yeah, I'm just going to hang them from right up here. I'll loop the ribbon around and then maybe I will tie it together, create a little bit of space so you can actually also see the ribbon. See how that looks. And I think I want to scoot them over a little bit like so. Okay, hold on. All right, let's do it on the other side. Same thing. I happen to be a little OCD, so no offense, anybody. I'm very particular, I should say that. But I want them to be about the same height in terms of how far they're falling down. And I think do it like so. And as long as they're close to the same height, I will be a happy camper. What do you think? Move this this one over towards the edge so they're hanging around about the right spot. That looks pretty good. Let's see how it looks from below. So now that I've got my gomphrena, my dried gomphrena up here, I'll bring the camera in a little bit higher so you can see how it turned out. I just think they're sweet. That bright hot pink on this end of the greenhouse is needed because if I slowly pan around, this end of my greenhouse has things without a lot of color. I mean, there's my croton, it's got some color, but it's mostly herbs and supplies, and the fern. But if I pan around and we look at the opposite end of the greenhouse, it has much more color because this is where I've got a lot of my geraniums that I grow from seed and I keep going all winter long. Okay, so I promised you all that I would share with you some tips and tricks about how we winterize our greenhouse so that I can grow herbs and flowers and tropicals and keep them going all winter long. And so I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to share with you 4 things that we do to make our plants healthy all season long. Okay, first things first, when you have a greenhouse and you live in a place like I do that gets very, very cold, freezing winters, you need to heat it. And the way that we heat it is we have 2 heaters set up to automatic thermostats. Now, you can see from that thermostat on this end of the greenhouse, it's 60 degrees in here. So this heater doesn't need to come on right now, and actually it usually sets, out here. It doesn't sit right up against the door, but that will pop on when it gets 50 degrees or below, then this heater will kick on. All right. So I set my thermostat to 50 degrees and that activates this heater. So I'm not running down here turning this on and off and on and off. It will automatically kick on at 50 degrees. So I'm going to slowly pan around so that you all don't get sick when I go too fast. And then you can see down here at this end, I have the same thermostat, and this is an oil-based electric heater, really commonly used in a lot of small hobby greenhouse gardeners like me. This works really great. In fact, I've got another one coming. So what I'm going to probably do is, this is a sort of a forced air heater. I'm going to swap this out because these radiant oil-based electric heaters, I think, heat much better. So that is the number one thing. You have to heat your greenhouse in the winter if you live in a place like I do and you want to be able to grow geraniums, tropicals, ivy, herbs. Here's some rosemary. I just cut back all the blooms, some ferns, and over here I've got my little herb, my raised herb box that's got oregano and sage and chives and some thyme and some rosemary. So heaters set to 50 degrees. They'll pop on when it gets that cold. All right, so heating with these heaters set on thermostats to 50 degrees is the absolute must. Then I thought I might mention too, just if you're unfamiliar with greenhouses, when the sun is shining, it can get super warm in here, even in the winter. But today it's cold and it's really rainy and there is no sunlight at all. And so it's only about 60 degrees here. It's 60 inside the greenhouse. Outside of the greenhouse, it's about 50 degrees. But if the sun were out today, even if it was cold out, but the sun was shining, it would be 70, 80 degrees in here easily when the sun is out, even in winter. So during the day, if you've got lots of sun, it'll be nice and toasty. But the minute that sun goes down, oh yeah, it starts to get cold in the greenhouse. All right, so no judgment here. You guys came along with me today, and I made a mess on the floor, but I do want to show you and talk about this floor. So this is the other thing that if you have a greenhouse like I do, a Yoder-built greenhouse, they are manufactured with regular decking like you would have outside on a deck under these big black sturdy rubber interlocking squares is decking material. And as you know, decks have cracks in them. And so if you want to insulate your greenhouse for winter, and I keep this down year round actually because it helps even in summer, you want to create some kind of flooring. And we've gone with these heavy duty mats. I think we got these at Harbor Freight. A lot of people will put this down. They'll put horse stall mats down, something that's good on your feet that can get dirty but cleans up pretty easily. Some people like to have pretty rugs. That's not me. I am dirty when I garden and I don't want to be cleaning rugs. That is for darn sure. Another thing, it's going to be hard for you all to see this, but my particular greenhouse has just regular walls, the 4-foot walls. And what we did is we came in, you can't see it because it's covered up with this piece of luan, but behind this is a nice thick insulating foam board that we cut to fit around the whole base of the greenhouse. All the walls have a really high R value um, uh, insulation board, and then we got this luan. It's a thin wood, and I stained it to match because I don't want to look at insulation, you know, the pink stuff, right? So we insulated the lower 4 feet all the way around. You can't see it, of course, but we did do the entire greenhouse, um, and that made a big difference as well. Last but not least, I'm going to take you outside. I think the rain let up a little bit. I don't know, but we're going to go outside because I want to show you the skirting we installed. Our greenhouse is built to where the bottom is open. Well, you can imagine in the wintertime and even the summer, we don't want to have cold air blowing underneath the greenhouse. We also don't want to have critters underneath the greenhouse. So let me see if I can get a good angle for you. Yeah, I think I can. So do you see this here? We installed these boards below our greenhouse to block out critters from getting in, but also to keep things nice and toasty. So that's an extra step that we took and a lot of people take when they have greenhouses, especially greenhouses that are built like ours. So again, Yoder-built is the company. They are fantastic. They are a privately owned family business. They are incredible to work with. I could not say anything better about my greenhouse. I mean, I love it. It has changed my gardening game tremendously. Absolutely has. I'm so happy to have it. I feel very fortunate. I've wanted one for years and years and years. And I saved my money and I did a lot of research and settled on a Yoder built. So I will make sure, as I've done in other videos, to put the website address for Yoder built greenhouses in the description below. But also you want to check out my playlist. I have a whole playlist of videos I have shared with you all related to using my greenhouse. If you're interested, check out the playlist on greenhouse gardening, and I think you'll enjoy that information. So you've seen all of the segments that I was able to save from today's garden projects. And so before I sign off, I wanted to make sure I thanked everybody for hanging out with me today as you got to see me take the dried little lime punch hydrangeas and create a nice little fall display. I took my gomphrena that I dried earlier, 3 months ago, and I got to hang it in the greenhouse. And then I got to share with you my 4 most important tips for how you want to make sure your greenhouse is ready to stay warm throughout the winter so that you can continue to grow things like herbs and flowers and tropicals. So thanks everybody so much for being patient with today's kind of format that's out of sequence. I appreciate you hanging out with me. And as always, I wish everybody out there happy gardening.